Remember that the most successful musical act of all time, One Direction.
Yep.
I don't think anybody is going to say that One Direction is better than Prince or Michael Jackson or, you name this band or that band, Metallica, what have you. But
Nickleback.
they are. I think we're done here. I think that's
You
yeah.
don't want the legendary. That's what should have been the greatest. Okay, all joke. Just imagine, right? If that band was like the greatest sounding band.
Yeah, look at this
of all
photograph.
time. Look at this photograph. Every time it makes me laugh. Yo, I know this is a sidebar. Remember that song they released? It was like literally SEXEX. That's they're just like, dude, their music, right? And I'm not gonna say it's the worst shit I've ever heard, but some of it was. And like they're just like just graphically describing sex, and I'm like, what in the living fuck am I listening to? It's just like, gonna have her on her back. Like it was weird. It was very, very weird. That was one of those bands that literally had one sound, one song, and they just duplicated it a fucking 1,000 times. So.
Oh my god! Like Evanescence.
Yeah. They had some nice songs though back in the day. I'll admit.
Yeah, but they were all the same song.
Well, I mean, like I said, this is a random sidebar. What do you think of Paramore? Like,
they also made a really popular song and then made that song like 50,000 more times.
The one thing I'll have to say though is I'll admire about Paramore compared to most of those. They actually have changed their sound over the years.
Didn't Flyleaf try to be like the next Paramore?
I believe so. Yeah. Like Coheed and Cambria. Like, is that how you fucking say it?
Coheed and Cambria. Yeah, they have a very unique sound, but they do have a lot of inspirations that they get from other artists. In fact, I've been going back and forth with Mrs. Evil because there's a particular song, and you could just hear the 1980s Michael Jackson in it, and she's like, "Nah, Phil Collins." I'm like, the fucking beat, the fucking drum breakdown that happens 3 times in a song for a grand total of 8 seconds. And that's all you hear for the rest of the song.
Well, yeah, like I'll say this is I liked their the Kiss cover they did about a year ago. Like they Love Gun. I don't know if you ever heard that from them.
I haven't heard that one. They did a sequel to that Jesse's Girl.
Yeah.
They did a sequel to Jesse's Girl. They've done a couple of covers that people really do like.
Yeah, like the Love Gun, like it. I'm not trying to knock Kiss, but they're not really my biggest, like, you know what I mean? They're not my biggest, like.
Is it the paint on the face?
No, it's just some of it's like, some of it I can take it, some of it I can leave it. But they made that Love Guns, like, it sounded uniquely like them. Like, it's just the way he performed it. Like, it was amazing. And actually, one of their songs made it on the NHL 23 soundtrack.
Yes.
Liars Club.
Yeah. That song, like, the thing is, I'm one of the biggest Coheed fans that you guys will probably ever meet. Like, but it took me to listen to that album maybe 25 or 30 times before I stopped hating the album. So it put me in a very weird position where I've loved every single thing that they've ever put out. I've given them thousands of my dollars over the last 15 years and change. Okay. So for me to actually feel like, oh my God, this is fucking sucks. It was soul destroying for me. I know that Logan Paul cannot like really relate to this feeling of having something destroy his soul.
Yeah.
But it was soul destroying for me. But I can tell you that the album redeems itself after 50 complete listens, right?
Well, like,
that song, The Liars Club, yes, it is poppy as shit. But when you kind of get into the flow of it and the song just makes sonic sense.
I actually liked that song a lot. I liked it before it was on the track. Like I when it came out, because I actually got into them because of you, and then I went into their back catalog, and then I found the song. I was like, I was like, well, this is actually really good. I actually liked. I don't mind poppy songs. Not every single thing I want to listen to is poppy, but I was like, oh, it sounded good. I was like, sonically, it was like everything I'd want from that type. Like, I feel like with that type of music, not to make this a music review show, but I feel like it hit exactly what it was going for, and it hit it out of the park. And like, that's the only song on the NHL 23 soundtrack that doesn't make me want to blow my fucking brains out. And
but sports BGM. Usually there's one song and the rest of them are hot fucking garbage.
Bro, they had Machine Gun Kelly on one, and I was like,
no,
dude, like, you know, like tickets to my downfall, more like tickets to my fucking depression. It was rough. Oh man, it was rough.
So here's the thing about songs like the Liars Club. Why for some Coheed and Cambria fans, it didn't hit. Okay.
I'm just gonna have to put my.
If you go back to when they were Shabuti, late 1990s, mid 1990s, and then when they changed their name in 2001, Coheed and Cambria, right? You look at the arc of their first 5 albums, right? Album 1 was chapter 2 of the story. Album 2 was chapter 3 of the story. Album 3 was chapter 4, part 1. The 4th album was chapter 4, part 2, and the 5th album was chapter 1. They did a prequel to the story, right? They wrote full novels, graphic novels, comic books. Every song goes through in chronological order the entire saga. It's complicated ass music.
Yeah.
And then you come up with some poppy shit like Liars Club, which it does not live up to the intelligent songwriting and music making as most of the other Coheed songs in their entire discography. Yes, they do have poppy songs, but the Liars Club is not really going to resonate with that hardcore I've been around since Second Stage Turbine Blade, or the guys that came in listen to the fucking titles of the albums, right? The second album is called what was it was called In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3, right? And then the third album is called Good Apollo 1, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. Like, you have like these crazy ideas that are very well thought out, and then you get Liars Club, years later, and it's just like, well, where's the rest of the song?
I guess
right?
So. Like, I guess this is actually like fuck. Like, cause let's just have this conversation. I think when it kind of, this is what we do on the phone most of the time, anyway, right? So like,
stop doing the show on the phone.
So like, when it kind of comes down to it, is like for me, when is it enough from an artist when it comes to giving intelligent music? And I'm not saying like they gotta like be like like a bunch of idiots for, like after a certain extent. But when can an artist just have fun?
Right.
And I think that's where, I like.
But if you're selling an album to your fans and they know what to expect from you, and then they give you the money, like I have the special edition in this big, you should see this big ass box, right? Look at this big ass box, right? This is the special edition of the latest album, right? The special edition's in here. I have not opened it yet.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't open it. What's wrong with you?
Right? This is this is the special edition of their latest album. How do you get people to buy stuff like this? Because they know what to expect from you.
I mean that's a fair point, but I like listening to that album. I think there was nothing inherently wrong with it. I might say, did it like make me awaken and give me like the red pill or the blue, whatever the fuck the pill is?
The goosebumps.
The goosebumps, like nothing crazy, but I thought it was a good performance. I actually think,
I thought it was overproduced, and the auto tune on his voice.
It was, yeah.
It was offensive. Like, I cried out of anger after my first half listen because I couldn't even get through the fifth song. I said, I have to turn this shit off.
You know what I think honestly was why I think they did that though is I think they realized their fans are getting older. It's kind of their stagnation. I think sometimes bands and artists just want to try a new sound and maybe kind of get an influx of new fans. You know what I mean?
I mean, it might be, but the thing is, they use auto-tune on the voice and didn't change the effect on the voice. His voice is immaculate. You will not find anybody that will sing live better than on the studio album than Claudio Sanchez.
No. Me, bro. I got that hands down for sure. Like, have you heard my vocals? Legendary.
Well, you did get some coaching on this one particular word that you needed to say with like more gusto.
Yeah.
You know, Mrs. Evil.
Yeah,
had to give you a little bit of that coaching.
Yeah, that is for the low T show. Yeah, I'm not getting canceled. But I think when it kind of says that, and she knows exactly what she's talking about.
She said, "Please no." She doesn't want to hear you saying.
I am definitely not getting canceled because that would just spread on the internet like a mad.
But you got coaching from a woman, so it's okay.
I mean, bro, is there anything more modern than that? Like that's true. Like it's so beautiful equality. But I mean, like when it kind of comes to music, right, and just kind of whole conversation is like. For example, a lot of people complain about their favorite artist, and they're like, "Oh, they changed.
They sold out.
Did something different." And it's like,
right.
I think honestly, artists like to explore different things. I think it's good when they change it up because, like, if you look at like an artist I brought up, Nickleback, same fucking song a million different times. That shit. Look at this photograph. Every time it makes me laugh. Like legitimately the dumbest shit. And if it's the same fucking cadence every song. And like, I would rather an artist take risks and try different things. Now, like Eminem, when he had that, and I know you're not super into rap, but like when Eminem had that like album, Relapse, people didn't like it. I didn't really like. I'm not sitting here. I was a huge fan of it, but I was like,
it wasn't a horrible album.
No, it wasn't a horrible album. It was like kind of average. I like some of the shit was weird.
Before you go into your next point, I want to address the last point you just made because that was a good point you made, right? And here's something I got to say in defense of Coheed and their maturation process as not just musicians and artists, but also as men. As human beings, right? You get people, and I've heard this. I've heard this a lot, right? Well, in Second Stage Turbine Blade and In Keeping Secrets and Good Apollo 1 are these legendary albums for all Coheed fans, right? Their most famous song ever is off their third album, Welcome Home. You've heard it played everywhere. You know, you might have even heard the song and not even know that you've heard the song. Okay, it's that famous, right? But the thing is that the content of those albums, well, specifically the second and the third album, the dude is not doing so well. He sounds a lot like men who are struggling in the dating world today. Okay, he gets murderous toward the end of the second album, and all the way through the third album, there are fucking problems. He's ready to kill this bitch and put her in the ground, and he makes like read the fucking lyrics to Welcome Home, and you're like that song takes on a whole different meaning. Okay? Now, the guy actually marries the woman who he has all these angry lyrics for. He ends up marrying her in real life. Okay? Then he the relationship matures, right? They're bonding and all of that, right?
Yeah.
She gets pregnant, right? So this is around the time where The Color Before the Sun comes out, right?
Right.
There's a song on there that makes me want to cry every single time I hear it called Atlas. Do you know why the song is called Atlas? Because he knew he was going to name his unborn child, a son, Atlas. And he writes a song to his unborn son. Do you see these fucking incel ass niggas talking about, wow, that song is so corny. It's so sappy. It's blah, blah. Yo, why don't you go out there, get some pussy, put a ring on it, put a baby in her, and then see if you're going to complain about how sappy the motherfucker's writing to his unborn son, and you mad about it because you want him to still make songs about how these women are doing him wrong. Guess what? He's not in that space anymore.
Well, you know what? I'll add another correlation, like Linkin Park, right? Like people were furious. Like some Linkin Park fans were furious
when they doing shit with Jay-Z.
Yeah. Well, that JC shit, I like that Jay-Z shit. But like anyway,
that shit sounded terrible.
Yo, I listen. I disagree. For the era, like
listen, I don't like Linkin Park. So at all. So
he doesn't like white people. Obviously racist. But when it kind of comes down to it,
but shout out to Chester Bennington because I felt this pain toward the end.
Meteora, Hybrid Theory, like people complained after the first few albums that he wasn't as like the music wasn't as hard, like 1,000 Suns and there's so many albums. Like the last couple albums,
you say it was more mainstream.
It was more like softer sounding mainstream. Now definitely.
Right. Nobody likes that shit.
They had
like when Fall Out Boy went mainstream, their fans went berserk.
But the Transformers, like they always had a song for the Transformers, like New Divide.
Yes.
So
the Shia LaBeouf movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like my thing is though, is they always kept their artistic integrity. They kept wanting Chester to get back into that like really fucked up headspace,
right?
And like, bro, like he got abused, he got like assaulted, like he did talk about that, yeah. So like he had some really fucked up shit. He got his ex-wife or some shit cheated on him, destroyed him, and that's why his first few albums were so heavy because he went through so much shit. And then his life turned around, and then it's no longer like you said. With Coheed and Cambria, like they're not going through that, so they're not in that mental space. Like I feel like for me, I might not no longer like vibe with an artist's music as they grow because maybe
you can respect the maturation,
exactly,
the evolution. Yeah.
And that's the thing is, I'm not gonna dog anyone that goes through like writing a song about their unborn son or writing a song about dealing with depression in a positive type way. Like I'm gonna let these artists grow because I'm not gonna hold them to the standard. I don't want them to be in the same fucking mindset when they were writing this fucked up shit because that would mean
that their lives suck. And if I like them, I don't want their lives to continue to suck.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think this is actually a really good conversation with music and just any medium. I think we gotta allow people to grow. And if you don't like the music, you don't have to hate the person. Just like, hey, like I like their first few albums. I'll go back and listen to that every once in a while. Newer stuff ain't for me, and maybe they'll release a song I like or enjoy every once in a while, and I'll just keep it moving.
You know what's funny? Because obviously I take Coheed and Cambria's music very personally because a lot of the struggles that the writer was going through, I was going through very, very many of those types of struggles. So I felt like he was talking directly to me, which is what hooked me in the first place. And I'm a huge science fiction, dystopian, science fiction.
Yeah.
A lot of futuristic stuff. I'm into all of that. So it was a perfect marriage, right? Like it was like the first artist that I went like full fanatic for, right? So when I look at, and the thing is, he's only maybe a year or two older than me. He's not that much old. So we kind of grew up around, like we all kind of grew up with each other. Now, like if you saw him and then he saw me, he would react to me because I've met him so many times that the dude and his wife would definitely recognize me. The drummer of the band, I go back and forth with him all the time, and I give him advice sometimes on fitness stuff. But for him, he went through what he went through, and that's why he wrote it. But for everybody else who went through anything remotely similar around that time, it's almost like he went through it with them, but it doesn't go back the other way.
Yeah,
He knows that he's getting the love from the fans, but it's not like he knows their individual stories. We know his individual story. So for me, and I got with my lady, it was 2006. I think we got married a few months or a year after he got married to his wife. Right? So when he's writing Pearl of the Stars from Year of the Black Rainbow, right? And he's, I cried the first time I heard that song because hear how I feel about my woman. And he's writing about how the character in the story feels about his wife, but that it's just an allegory or a stand-in for how he feels about his own wife.
Right.
Right? So when you listen to, he has this song on another album called Gravity's Union, where he describes like this really devastating car accident that takes the life of the woman who's in the car. And he talked about how when he's writing that song, he's thinking about his greatest fear and why he personally takes driving safety so important, because he's always thinking, what if I lose control of this vehicle and she dies?
Yeah.
Right? So I became a driver, 7 years ago? It was around that time when that album came out. And I'm thinking about these things on a constant level, making sure that the ladies are safe, making sure that I control my anger. He has a song called Iron Fist, where he talks about his struggle to control his rage and his anger, especially at home around this woman, right? And then you look at how he's growing up through his life and he's maturing, and I'm damn near the same age as him. And I'm going through a lot of these maturation processes myself. And I think that for some of the fans, they're still stuck in that she did me wrong, I'll never love again, and they can't get away from In Keeping Secrets from, what year that album released? 2003.
Yeah, a while ago. So what, 2 decades ago?
And people are still stuck they're still the same person they were 2 decades ago. That's a fucking problem.
That is a fucking problem, but I also think that people get used to it. I think the problem is I feel like people don't realize that artists are actually human beings and that they make these songs out of those emotions unless they have a ghostwriter that makes it up for them. So like
rappers.
Yeah, a lot of rappers actually, where they don't have that, like they have an emotional connection to their writing, and it resonates with them, right? At that time, and that's why they write it. But then when they're no longer in that headspace, I mean, there's certain artists I know that don't, do not perform certain songs anymore because they're completely different headspace, and they don't necessarily like to either bring themselves back to it or they're not proud of that song.
Right. Can I talk about Linkin Park for 1 second?
Sure.
Because when Chester Bennington self-terminated, that broke my heart, and I hated their music. I cannot tell you, there's 2 people that died that I could not believe how hard it hit me. Chester Bennington, Kobe Bryant. I was not a Kobe Bryant fan. I was not. I was a fan of his as a human being as his career was winding down.
Right.
And then after he retired, I'm like, this guy is just a great guy. Yeah. And then when he died, I cried like a fucking baby. Even though I hated Linkin Park, I shed a tear for Chester Bennington because I kind of felt like that. I kind of understood where he was coming from as far as your life not really belonging to you anymore because you created this raft of art that so many people identified with and or enjoyed. And now they think they own your life.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like sometimes fame is completely like full encompassing, and certain people just feel like they can't get out of it. You know what I mean? That's why certain artists, there's this one female artist, her name is slipping, my fucking the tip of my tongue for whatever reason. It's kind of like this is gonna piss me off because I did reactions to her on 8-Bit.
On 8-Bit?
I'm actually
RIP to 8-Bit.
She I mean, well, people don't want to show up and do shit. That's them. But like when it kind of comes down to it, she like really good fucking artist, and she doesn't want to be big here. Aurora. That's what it was. So Aurora, that's
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, she fantastic. Like I'll send you some links to it. Real. I don't know if you like her music, but she has a beautiful voice. It's kind of poppy, I guess, in a certain like,
yeah, I don't really get down with pop like
not
that.
Really poppy, I guess. I'll have to send it to you. I'm probably poorly describing it. I'm not a music critic here, folks.
Maybe we can do an 8-bit reaction to it.
Yeah, the channel don't exist no more.
R.I.P.
But when it kind of comes down to it, is she didn't want to be in the U.S. market, and she gets hundreds and hundreds of millions of views on YouTube, and she's big in Europe. But she never wanted to be.
Europe?
Yeah, she is from Europe. She never wanted to be big in the U.S. market because she said when you get famous in the U.S. compared to other places, like your life is no longer your own. And it's such
heavy.
And she's like, dude, she's only like I think mid-20s, and like she already has that type of mindset. She's like, from a young age, I never wanted to blow up in the United States because I understood I no longer am my own person. So she's Norwegian. That's right. And
do you know how many of these artists are introverts? People don't understand that. People also don't understand that. Like when you do your Pop or Thunder thing, people don't really understand that you're an introvert. No. When I come on here and I do my thing, and I got the rah and I'm reacting to this and that. People don't understand that I isolate myself from people as much as I possibly can. That's one of the reasons I have not been infected with the Rona yet. I'm one of the few people that have not been infected. Why? Because I am completely fucking antisocial, introvert.
I wish I could say the same. I got it twice, both from work.
Work, right?
Yeah. But
I work with one person at a time. You're with these motherfuckers for weeks and weeks and weeks on the water, But these singers, these artists, a lot of them are introverts. And then they just like, listen, I just want to express myself through my music because I can't really express myself in other ways. And it just so happens that too many people like what I had to say, and now my life doesn't belong to me anymore.